Well, now start sacrificing for the sake of your future now. Let's just be sincere. The point is, whether you sacrifice or not, you have to sacrifice one day. There are forceful sacrifice or there is an optional sacrifice. We have two types of sacrifices. We have a forceful sacrifice, we have a forceful sacrifice, and we have what we call the optional sacrifice. You know why? Most of the people tend to ignore the things. Once it's too late for them, that's the time they try to do the things, a lot of things at the same time. And that is how they got themselves into problems. Can you imagine this? Let's say you are a young individual. You don't have a wife, you don't have kids, you don't have much of the responsibilities. You live by your home, you live in your parents' house, or you're just a young person, you're not yet married, you got yourself a job, you're throwing parties, left and right and what have you. The moment people talk about sacrificing for for the sake of future, you don't even agree with that. You just like throw the parties and what have you. A time will come when you have more responsibilities on top of you. And guess what happens now? You do not have an option. You have to sacrifice no matter what. That's what we call the forceful sacrifice. And I'm telling you one thing, this comes with consequences. Why? Probably you don't have the energy to sacrifice because you are old. Somebody tells you you can stay like a whole day without taking a lunch. It is not a conversation that you can have. It is so bitter for you. Number two, you don't have the option. And that's why you find people developing what you call the mental problems, depression, stresses, and what have you, anxiety, because you are being forced to sacrifice. You are at 45 years old. You don't even have any investment. You have never had the language of shares, investments, the rates, the treasury bills, the index fund. You know nothing. You don't have any investment. For God's sake, you are 15 years time from being forced to retire. Then guess what happens now? You have to sacrifice now. And can you imagine this? Can you imagine sacrificing when you're having a lot of people? Can you imagine this? See, when you are young, when you do not have wife, don't have kids, you can sacrifice. So even if you don't take a lunch and decide to cooking from your home instead of taking those expensive dishes from a hotel, guess what happens now? You can be able to salvage a lot of money and save that money and invest that money that can help you to grow to the next level. And now can you imagine this? When you're actually now, you have the wife on board, you have the kids, now you have to sacrifice. You are now even sort of subjecting people who are innocent, came to your life, now you're subjecting them to that condition because you didn't do something. And that's why most of the people get themselves into a problem. That's why I say sacrificing now is the best thing that you can ever do. Do you know what they say? It takes, or the best time to plant a tree, obviously it was 10 years ago. That's why you're enjoying that very nice shade. And do you know what the next best time to plant a tree? It is now. That is it. So now we're going to talk about that, why you should start sacrificing for now and what it means to sacrifice. Because some of you guys have a negative attitude towards sacrificing. And then there is an optional sacrifice. Optional sacrifice is when you condition the situation. And the conditional sacrifice, sometimes it's not that tough. Why? Because you leverage on time. You leverage on time. You still have time. Okay, now here we are. What is to sacrifice? Because you need to understand the term first. To sacrifice, it is not, people don't think it is equivalent to what we call suffering. It is not suffering, okay? It is not suffering. Or even if it's suffering, by the way, if it's suffering for a certain period of time, and then you win later, what's the problem with that? And I'm going to give you a very simple example. What if today you just graduated, you don't have a job, but I tell you, I have a company. I want you to come to my company, work for the next 5 months without being paid. You earn zero for the next 5 months. You show up each and every day. You live when others are living who are getting paid. And I can promise you, the 6th month, I will employ you, you'll get a job and you'll get some cash. Not even cash, you'll get employment, formal employment, permanently. Will you be able to sacrifice the next 5 months? Absolutely, yes. You know why? Because it is a promised one. That one you are sure. But when you talk about sacrifice, we do not tell you if you sacrifice, you will win, you'll get this. Therefore, that's why you tend to have a little bit of lethargy. You become a bit lethargic when it comes to that kind of attitude. No, you should take it as of now. Let's get into the business now. To sacrifice is not really to suffer. To sacrifice, it simply means to organize yourself to enjoy later. When we say don't grab those luxury things, do not have yourself an expensive lifestyle. You actually paying your house rent worth 35,000. Let's say, for example, you're paying your house 35,000. Why are you paying it 35,000? Because you're okay, you have the money, you can throw parties, you're earning well, maybe probably you're talking the language of 100,000 a month and what have you. So you pay this towards your rent, there's nothing wrong, you can afford it. That's what you think. Now, the issue is this. So how about you just say, hey, you know what? Yes, I I can actually afford to pay for the 35 one, but how about I go for the 20,000 one? And guess what happens now? This is the magic when it starts to happen. Now you have yourself a salvable 15,000. This one I can channel towards an MMF continuously. Can you imagine this? Remember when I say you can actually channel 5,000 in a period of 10 years, you have 1 million. How much do you think you can get if you were to sacrifice 15,000 a month? And guess what? I've only gotten that money from your house rent. As simple as that. So how about you go ahead and check out on other things that you can be able to salvage on? Maybe probably that what you dress, where you buy your clothing, where you eat, those expensive drinks that you grab each and every time, those parties that usually go in a weekend. You show up, you get out of your house on Friday, you come back on Sunday evening because tomorrow is on a Monday and you have to go to a job. So if you can actually identify all those gaps, fill them, get that money sacrificed for the next 5 to 10 years, I'm telling you, you're going to achieve a lot of things. So sacrifice, I'm telling you, it's a thing that has made people achieve a lot of greatest things. And by the way, let me tell you one secret. Have you ever met a wealthy individual and you feel like they usually have bitter, or they're kind of bitter with their money? They're not necessarily bitter. Yeah, they may have the traces of bitterness inside of them, but it's not really bitterness. What they have is the character that they, you know what? This is what I always tell people. When you, for example, right now as we speak, I have a savings challenge of 100K. We started on 2024 at the beginning of the year. We're having that challenge to save ourselves 100K. Why 100K? Because it is the hardest gap, or is the hardest goal or a mark to achieve. And if you achieve that mark, do you know why? It is easier to move from 100K to a million than from 1,000 to 100K. So once you hit that, guess what happens? People think that you're going to have only money. No, you ain't going to have money alone. Guess what you're going to have at the end of the year? A character and a habit. You're going to have a character. And we grow along with that character. One day, if a windfall happens, a money falls on you, because it happens. I mean, guys, you don't believe in being lucky? That thing happens. You can secure a good job. You can get good money. You can actually start a business, start running very well. That way, you'll be able to manage your cash. Why? Because you managed to save yourself, sacrifice, be consistency and discipline to accumulate that amount of money. So you have yourself two things. You have the money and you have the character. So when we speak about salvaging or sacrificing yourself, it means I can afford this. And that's how a wise person do. I can afford this. I can afford that and that. And guess what? Okay, yes, I will enjoy the three things that I can afford. But if I turn around and look at my future, I'm like, in 5 years' time, or in 10 years' time, or in 20 years' time, I will have a family. I will have kids, I will have wives, I will have responsibilities on top of me. I will actually have the age catching with me. And therefore, I also need to create something. All these two things are for you to be done. It's like telling me, you know what, I just want to feed the basket of enjoyment and achieving these things. You disregard the basket of savings and investment. It's still a basket to be filled. It's like showing up. Can you imagine this? You show up to a meeting with only a coat and a shirt like this one. You don't have the trousers or the pants. You're just naked from downward. And then you tell them, I bought this from Gucci and this one because they're expensive. Therefore, I didn't manage to afford them. You get what I'm saying? You have to avoid everything from top to bottom. That's for a fact. Enjoying is part of your budget, and also investing and sacrifice is also part of your budget. This you enjoy for the sake of today, so that you appreciate your life. And also saving, you try to safeguard your future so you don't cry when others are eating the fruits of their labor. That is exactly what you do it. So if you can afford this and this and that, ask yourself, okay, fine. Just because I can afford it, that is one qualification. I can afford it. You have now catered the factor of finance or the money. I can afford it. Now the question is this: if I buy this, how will this affect this? What is this? This is what I'm looking for to create as an investment for the sake of my future. Then if the effect of me buying this exceeds 30% of this, then this is an enemy to this. Then how can I make this and this, the two of them, a friend to each other? How? I can be able to get this, enjoy myself a little, because it's good to appreciate your life, because you can be drenched by your future to disregard the present. And when you're drenched by your future and you disregard the present, you'll never have something called gratitude. So it is good to have the gratitude is when you appreciate the day that you are in, and also you work forward towards achieving the day that you're looking forward to having it. So therefore, I'll be able to say, I can afford 35,000 house rent. I'll be able to go for the 21. Why? If we compare the 25 one and the 21 and the 35 one, yeah, there's a gap of 15,000. But yes, there is a little bit of things that I would miss. Probably there is a nice neighborhood, whatever, nice view and whatever. I can sacrifice that view take that 15,000, I invest my view, and in 5 years or 10 years time to come, I would have created a portfolio of investment that is generating cash flow equivalent close to that what I'm making as a month, or maybe half of what I'm making. Therefore, I can even shift from the 20,000 one back even to a 40,000 one. I'll even have a better life. And guess what happens now? Right now, I'm paying this. For example, let's say you're paid 120,000 per month. I mean, seriously, this is a good cash in Kenya. Now you're paying your house rent worth 35,000 a month. What if you get fired? You know what? 2 months of your rent is 70,000. 3 months of your rent is 125,000. Has already exceeded that what you make per month. Can you imagine this? In a period of 3 months, you've already wasted your 1 month. In a period of 3 months of whatever you pay as your rent, you've already wasted your whole month of an year. An year is made up of 12 months. So 1 month, so your year is no longer 12, your year is 11 months. Now, guess what happens now? If maybe something happened, a BS happens, because this is life, you get fired, okay? Once you get fired, and God forbid, I don't pray for that, but God forbid, you get fired. Now, it means the month 1, you have a rent of arrears of 35,000. The month 2, you have an arrear of 70,000. And if you earn 120,000, probably your friends actually earns around this amount of money, because those are the people who you hang around with. Guess what? Now you have an arrear of 70,000. Now the caretaker or the agent, they are now asking you pay back your rent and do all those kind of things. Who can you turn to? You turn to your friends. You turn your friends to borrow the 70,000. I want to show you why they can't borrow. They can't give you the money. If you're asking for 70,000, they are paid 120,000. They will remain with 50k. 50k. What can you do with 50k? Probably they are living the same as you at that 5-1. They cannot be able to help you. But if you live in a quite a decent place, even if you were to borrow, you know, there is that money that you can borrow. Somebody is quite decent, and you know, yes, I can borrow this money. It would affect their normal day-to-day activities. But there is that cash that you can ask for from somebody, and it affects entirely what they do and actually their day-to-day activities. So it's always good to make sure that at least sacrifice for today, channel that money towards an investment, so you bring forth that portfolio of investment and push it along so that you can achieve that greatness as far as the investment is concerned. And now that what you want as a fun, you can achieve it later. That's good, Joseph speaking. And never forget one thing. My number is always on my description of this specific video. You can grab it, grab me, shoot me a call or a text, and we can have a discussion with you. For now, it's a good vibe. See you in the next time.